Welcome back to Hannity. Immigration and race relations in America are two topics that have been coming up a lot on the campaign trail. Joining us now to explain where she stands on these very two important issues, 2016 Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, Sean. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I was a little disturbed to watch this person in front of Hillary Clinton say that they want to strangle you, and she didn't correct them. What's this?
Every time I see her on TV, I want to reach through and strangle her. You know, I know that doesn't sound very nice, but... And
I wouldn't mess with you.
Beyond the laugh, which is annoying, do you think she had an obligation to correct them? Because this keeps coming up. Do candidates have an obligation to correct what people are asking at town halls?
Well, there are times when certainly you should. Look, I don't hold this gentleman in any disregard. I understand he is frustrated with me and he doesn't agree with my politics. I don't even hold Hillary Clinton accountable for not saying something, but it's just an example of the unbelievable double standard. The unbelievable double standard that conservatives are held to versus the one that Mrs. Clinton is held to. I'm less worried about that than I am about the fact that the media actually won't ever ask her why she lied about the terrorist attack in Benghazi. The point is, the media protects Mrs. Clinton. The media protects President Obama. And those of us who are running for office have an obligation to stand up and point this double standard out every time it happens. The good news is, I think the American people are getting wise to this, and so I'll just point it out every time. That's why I went on The View last week, to point out to the ladies of The View, but more importantly to the audience of The View, that conservatives are held to a different standard, and then that doesn't help our nation and does not advance our dialogue.
I thought that was a great appearance, by the way, by you. You're not alone. Obama once told a member of an audience that he was going to send this guy, Mr. Burgess, to come and tear me up. So I don't really care. I don't take, words don't offend me anymore, so they can say whatever they want. Let me ask you about, there are three big distinctions that appeared during the debate the other night. America's role in the world, the economy, immigration. And I know I've asked you about immigration, but I want you to explain particularly the order in which you would go about things.
First, we must secure the border. As you said earlier in this show, a nation that cannot secure its own border cannot protect its sovereignty. And it's not just that we have illegal immigrants coming across the border. We have drugs. We have potentially terrorists coming across the border. You know, we lost our younger daughter to the demons of addiction. And I have met so many families in this nation struggling with this epidemic of addiction. And so it matters that we have drug lords camping out permanently on American soil selling drugs in this nation. We have to secure our border. Secondly, we have to fix the legal immigration system, which has been broken for 25 years. And here's the thing, Sean, politicians talk about this all the time. We've talked about it every election cycle, but somehow we just never fix it. So we hand out Mexican border crossing cards, and we never check to see if people go home at the end of the day. And we give people a legal visa, and we never check to see if they go home. We don't have an employer verification system that works. Listen, this takes leadership and political willpower to quit talking about it and get it done. It's what I've done all my life, get things done.
Is it a mistake for Republicans, if you don't control the border, I think it's a moot point, you know, to talk about the 11 million people, because that then becomes 12, 13, and 14 million people. The DEA, according to Judicial Watch, their National Drug Threat Assessment reveals that Mexican cartels are in a class of their own. No other group can challenge them in the near future, making them the largest criminal threat to the U.S. I've been in the drug warehouses down in Southern California. I've seen from floor to ceiling all drugs that have been confiscated. So my question to you is it a mistake for me to ask you, what do you do with the 11 million people here when the border's still not secure?
Well, I don't think it's a mistake, but I think the point is that we have to start with the basics. We have to start by securing the border. For all the reasons you just said, we have to start by securing the border. And we have to be realistic and understand that we have talked about this every election for 25 years. So frankly, Sean, talk is cheap. Now what we need is a leader who will actually go get it done, a leader who has a track record, not of talk, but of producing results. We have to secure the border. It actually isn't rocket science to do it, but it does take money and manpower and technology.
And by
the way, if we don't secure our, of course it can. And by the way, if we don't secure our border, guess what we also do? We corrode people's faith in their own government. And for a citizen government, that's a very dangerous thing. You cannot have 3/4 of this nation losing faith in their government, and they are.
Let me ask you about University of Missouri, race relations in the country, what we see unfolding. What are your thoughts on it all?
First, anytime there is racial insult, we ought to step up and talk out of that. But on the other hand, we are not preparing our children for a life in the real world when we so coddle them, when we tell them that anything that might offend their sensibilities is an affront, when we tell them that they're victims all day long. For heaven's sakes, when the students at Yale University are told what Halloween costumes to wear, that's not the same thing as the real civil rights movement, where people were fighting for the right to vote, the right to show up at a lunch counter, the right to be free from fear of being lynched. We need to give people a sense of perspective, and the only way our young people gain a sense of perspective is to understand our history. We are not helping young people when we protect them from their feelings and protect them from history.
Well said. Carly Fiorina, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.